At the far end of my storage room lies a vast, grand valley, embraced by majestic mountains on one side and the endless expanse of ocean on the other. Today marks the unveiling of my ambitious plan for the rest of the season. I've been debating heavily with myself as to how much of my plan I want to share with you guys in advance as we get started in a brand new area. Part of me wants to tell you everything right now, and part of me wants to save elements for different episodes to kind of keep you interested. I don't know what you guys prefer, but I've decided to give you the whole plan right now. The area that I'm standing in is just over the mountain range from my homestead, the village, and everything I've been building so far. I did spend a lot of time while I was waiting for the 1.21 update to kind of smooth and flatten the area a little bit so it would be ready for us to start building up. You'll probably also notice that the exit to my big storage room tunnel comes out right in the middle because this has been part of a plan I've had for quite some time. I'm going to stack up some scaffolding so we can climb up and I can give you a better view of this valley. It's actually bigger than it appears. Now that I've cleared all the trees and leveled the land, you can't see as much perspective, but this is going to be a lot of building. Connected down there to the back of the storage unit is going to be my personal castle. And I mean more than just a little bit of a castle. I mean an entire castle complex to fill pretty much the breadth of this valley. Attached to the castle is going to be another village down here by the coast, as well as a beautiful dock area. As you can see, this is actually fairly close to the villager trading city that's just on the horizon there. I'm still trying to decide how much of this is going to be harbor, how much will be village and farms, and how much will be merchant houses as we lead up towards the castle itself. I do have a little problem we're going to have to deal with, and that is the pillager tower right here on the edge of the valley that I'm working in. Then, after we do all the overworld work, we're going to put a little attention on to a city underground. Right below this mountain is a huge, beautiful cavern. I haven't finished lighting everything up yet, but I love the way that there's a little bit of a top ledge and a bottom ledge so that there's room for many different tiers of building and structures within this cave. The cave is expansive and deep, and there are big pits that go all the way down to deep dark, and these beautiful little cavernous areas with pillars are already built up. I think it's going to be really neat to build down here. I don't feel like it can be completely disconnected from the castle and its build because the castle, I think that those people were aware of the city down here, so we need to put some type of a connection between the two. I also want there to be a little bit of a bad guy, of a monster in the deep. I definitely want to bring on a little bit of my Lord of the Rings vibes and have that they dug too deep type of a vibe with some type of monster crawling out of the ground. Well, now that you guys have about 6 or 8 episodes worth of ideas in line, I hope that you don't just ignore me and that you'll be excited to come back and see how all these plans come together for this big, beautiful valley. For today, I think we had better start with an outline of the castle so we know where we're going to go from there. I've added a bunch of deep slate to my pocket so I can start actually putting the frame together for this castle. And I decided it would be best if I began right here by where you enter into the storage unit because it's in place already. It can be really intimidating to start a big build, so I always find it's best to identify an anchor point and to start spacing things out from there. For this example, we already have our anchor point, we have the exit to the storage unit. I want the lower levels of the castle to be out of deep slate and those darker colors, and as we go up into the main level and the higher levels of the castle, we'll use the Tuff blocks. I've never built a Tuff castle before, and I don't think I've even seen one yet since the blocks are pretty new, and I'm really excited to see how that comes together. I've marked out a big wide area room, which is going to be the feast hall, and the whole center of the castle is really going to be based off of this feast hall. And to get up and down, I'm going to make a couple smaller little squares off to the side here for staircases that will go all the way from top to bottom. Now that we have a few things in place, I'm just going to start building outward from this big feast hall building, and I really am excited to put together multiple layers of the castle. I'm outlining the next level, the higher level with the Tuff blocks, and I'll come back and texturize all of these later. I started texturizing the deep slate as I was moving, and it just got so slow. I stopped to figure out how I wanted to orient the different spaces. I know for certain that I really want the feast hall to be 2 full stories high, and these stories are 7 blocks high, so they're already very tall. Above the feast hall is going to be the bedrooms, the actual people who live here, the nobility bedrooms, my rooms. But below the feast hall, again, that's 2 stories high, is going to be the dungeon. That is going to make this castle very tall. So I think I'm going to have to dig deeper down so that the dungeon goes on a level below ground. That way it doesn't get any taller than it already is. The smaller room off the back is going to be the throne room, and right above it is where the nobility rooms were going to be, and then of course below it is where I head down into the storage room. I'm still working out where the entrance to the storage room is going to be. I want it to be kind of clever and also easy to get in and out of. I'm creating a 4-block wide hallway that's going to go all the way around the entire feast hall, and this isn't something we do a lot in Minecraft, but it's actually very normal for real life architecture, a space to walk around when you're moving from room to room. On either side of this big hallway and feast hall area, I am adding in 2 large rooms that are going to be decorative. One is going to be literally an art gallery of sorts, and the other one is going to be a grand library. I think both of these are beautiful spaces that are going to be really fun to have in the castle. The lower level of the library and the museum art gallery area are going to be staffing areas. So we'll have staff quarters as well as a room for the staff to relax in, and then a very large kitchen with pantry and storage area. I've also added a circular tower and 1 room off to the side because I don't want it to be completely symmetrical. Right now it's very symmetrical, and that will continue to be the case for the inside of the building, but we'll add additional towers and rooms to really flesh out and make it more interesting. In order to better understand the placement of the castle within the rest of the area, I'm working on a big circular pathway that's going to be part of the courtyard in front of the castle. It's just right now mostly orienting space, not actually creating the road. The last step is to dig a giant hole down underneath the feast hall so that we can make room for where the dungeon is going to go below ground. And I'll probably have to put in at least some preliminary stairs in each of the towers so I can move up and down between the different floors. Okay, this is what the outline looks for the frame, at least to start with. Obviously, it has a very long way to go before it looks good, and I'm not sure if I should have shown you all the pre-planning stuff. Let's face it, I'm not even sure if I should be telling you what all my plans are anyhow. I've never seen a YouTuber do that before, where they just share the whole entire plan with you. I may regret it. You guys have to let me know. Do you like knowing what's going on in my head in advance? Or is that just annoying? The first step to actually building in the castle, outside of just the wireframe, which of course is just the inner castle, not the outer castle or the town surrounding the castle, you get the point. Just the beginning step of the castle is a wireframe. The first decorating step is going to be the floors in the different rooms. I need that so that each of the levels already has a foundation and I'm not bouncing up and down with scaffolding all the time. I do want each room in the castle to have its own decorating space so that it has its own walls, roof, floor, everything unique to itself, and really beautiful and classy and ornamental and medieval in style, and I'm excited to make a castle for myself. So, a building palette for each room, which might be one of my favorite parts of building. So that's what I'm going to do next. Pick a floor, put the floors in place, and figure out a really general sketch of the palette for each of those rooms. I started in the basement with a black stone floor, and this was regular black stone bricks, and bricks that were cracked. And I really love the way that that combination melds together so seamlessly. One of my favorite tricks to use on floors is to put down slabs and stairs and waterlog them so it looks as if there's puddles and standing water in the ground. I wanted the dungeon to look really damp. I meant to stop there, but I was suddenly in a dungeon building mood, so I grabbed some of the netherite bricks and started organizing the different layouts of the cells, and before I knew it, I had the crimson wood for decoration, and the thing just started coming together. I was decorating the dungeon with cobwebs, again, to make it look really old and dank and kind of creepy, and while I was doing it, I was met with a surprise. I had meant all along to go ahead and put prisoners down here. I was going to capture some pillagers and bring them down and put them in the dungeon, but instead they decided to do me a favor and come put themselves in the dungeon. I ran around for a few minutes and got them trapped, so I have 2 pillagers now named and trapped in cells. It might have been a little bit of a sticky situation, but my armor's good. It was fun. I'd come this far, so I decided to go ahead and finish the dungeon. So I went ahead and pulled the walls up, and I used the same palette, just the black stone bricks, and cracked black stone. And then I used netherite slabs to pull kind of a column across the top of the roof, and finished everything off with gray and black wool to be part of the ceiling for the dungeon. With one room finished, I decided to move on to the other floors and continue with the original plan, which was to figure out the palette for each of the rooms and the floors. Here you can see the big dining hall. This is meant to be a majestic room, but some of these others a little more down to earth, like the kitchen, which is really going to be all of the cobble tones with the mossy variations, and I put an andesite ceiling in. I added a balcony on the second floor so you could look down over the ballroom and get quick access to what will eventually be the throne room up here with calcite walls. Next up were palettes for the art gallery and the library before moving on to the bedrooms on the 3rd floor, which is going to of course be the big royal bedroom as well as some of the other guest bedrooms. Next up is the palette for the actual castle itself, and I've decided to go ahead and use a really unique Tuff variant. It's using quite a few blocks that are a little bit hard to come by, and I'm going to need so many because the castle's actually going to be huge. So I went ahead and pulled out all the blocks that I had already for each of the colors and realized I had a lot of work to do gathering supplies. I have a lot of tuft already from clearing out the tricky trials chamber, but I do need a lot of the terracotta and concrete. For trims, I'm going to need brown concrete and a ton of spruce. I have the wood, but I need it stripped, so that's going to be a ton of time to put together as well. The roof is going to be a beautiful combination of copper that has been exposed all the way to that teal and just one step below it. And of course, all of the beautiful teal just effects to add to the castle. There are a lot of details in castles, so a lot of those are going to be with the Tuff bricks, which are not part of the other spectrum of color over there, as well as some of the really unique patterns, and a little bit more of the terracotta. I have so much terracotta to gather. The foundation of the castle is in deep slate, and you can see a little bit of those colors are already mixed in, and you can see the inside of the rooms. I went ahead and finished the interiors, but I'm not going to show you those yet. All of that is a little bit tricky to see on camera. To get a better view, I think I'm going to fly up here real fast just and spin around so you can see the staircases go up either side. The rooms are all finished with the walls and the roofs that are specific, so I have basically constructed this castle from the inside out. This is particularly useful to do if you want the inside walls to be a different color than the outside, which is why I've done it, but it sure does look weird at this step. I still need several shulkers of terracotta, and I really thought I was closer to being done with item collection, but getting supplies for this castle has been a huge task. Over here in the Badlands, of course, I just sat down and started digging. I just was collecting box after box full of regular terracotta so that I could dye it into the colors I need. Mostly that's the gray and teal and the light gray, which is a ton of dyes. I've managed to put the dye together for it, but I can't just gather teal terracotta. You've got to dye it from the regular stuff. So digging and digging and digging for hours to get the terracotta I needed for this build. After gathering the blocks, I just ran them through with the dye really fast and colored them while I was collecting them so I would know how much I had, and went ahead and grabbed all the shulkers and flew back to the castle. This is when the stupidest thing ever occurred. I was flying back and getting ready to land, and I was watching a stream on the other screen, and I just wasn't paying attention, and I landed too hard and died. I know, it was stupid. I don't want to hear about it. I like watching things on it was the streamer's fault. I was just too engaged in watching the stream. Anyhow, I collected my stuff. No harm done, really. I lost some experience, which isn't that big a deal. After gathering everything up, I put the last trip of supplies in place, and with that, we are ready to build. Well, we're almost ready to build. You see, I may have all the supplies that I need, but the replay mod is still not active, and I really want you guys to see this build for real on the channel. And that means I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop right here, and we're gonna wait until replay mod is added, and then we will build this castle. At this point in time, it means a long delay before the next video comes out, and I hope you guys understand because it is going to be worth it to see the clip that is coming next. This is officially the biggest build I've ever done in Minecraft and took over 3 weeks to put together. If you've made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate if you remember to like and subscribe.